Mangwanani Mwalelepo Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, where we bring you the news making headlines. My name is Aina Raiza Koyo, and alongside me is Eshwen Mberi.
Yes, and it's good to be here on a Tuesday morning, and today is White Wine Day. There is a positive rainbow of wines in the world, but none as sweet and fair as white wine. Make no mistake, white wines are rarely, if ever, truly white in color, but instead are a beautiful variety of straw yellow, gold, or yellow-green. White Wine Day was created to help celebrate this wine that absolutely stands out from all the others. Here's a clip on White Wine Day.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. In our first stories, militant groups recruiting child fighters in Burkina Faso. The number of children recruited by armed groups in Burkina Faso rose to at least fivefold so far this year, up from the 4 documented cases in all of last year, according to an unpublished report by international aid and conflict experts. Aid groups are seeing more children with jihadi fighters at roadside checkpoints in the Sahel and arid region that passes through Burkina Faso but stretches straight across the African continent just south of the Sahara. As they get older, children may become angry and start asking why the state is not helping them, she said. The effects of the conflict on children, including their recruitment as soldiers, but also the attacks on schools and children themselves, has become so concerning that this year's Burkina Faso was added for the first time to the UN Annual Report on Children and Armed Conflict. For now, many parents already struggling to feed, clothe, and educate their children feel powerless to protect them.
Our second story comes from Mozambique, as 15 terrorists have been killed on border with Tanzania. The Mozambican Defense and Security Forces have killed at least 15 alleged terrorists who were trying to cross the Rovuma River into Tanzania, according to Carta de Mozambique. The paper's sources said those shot dead were part of a group that had recently been dislodged from a terrorist base. They headed north, and the defense forces caught up with them on the south bank of the Rovuma in the Punda administrative post in Palma district. Carta de Mozambique did not give an exact date for the clash, but it may have been one of the operations mentioned by President Filipe Nyusi in his address to the nation last Sunday, when he said that following the defeat of the jihadists' latest attacks against Palma town, patrolling and cleanup operations are continuing along the Kuyonga-Pundana axis. Carta de Mozambique also reports that terrorists attacked the villages of Mandimba and Chakamba in the Nangande district on Tuesday. The number of deaths in these raids has yet to be confirmed. Survivors from the 2 villages fled to Nangande town.
In our next story, Rwandan Health Minister dismisses reports of closing border with DRC. Rwandan Health Minister Diane Gashuba has dismissed reports that Kigali had closed its borders with the Democratic Republic of Congo over fears of an Ebola outbreak. People were delayed at the border in the morning as they were sensitized on signs of dangers of Ebola virus and measures to prevent themselves from being infected, Rwandan Health Minister Diane Gashuba said. The presidency's office of DRC said in a statement earlier on Thursday that Rwanda has closed its borders with DRC after a man died of Ebola in the eastern DRC city of Goma, which borders Rwanda to the east. Rwanda Health Ministry on the 15th of July warned Rwandans against unnecessary traveling to Goma, which shares the border with the western Rwanda's Rabavudu district, with daily border crossing between two countries estimated about at 100,000 people.
All right, in our next story, AI condemns violence in Anglophone regions. Amnesty International on Friday condemned the escalation of destruction in the Anglophone regions of Cameroon, where a bloody separatist conflict has pitted armed rebel groups against the army for 4 years. The new investigations of AI, including satellite imagery analysis, revealed the devastating destruction caused by the ongoing conflict in English-speaking regions of Cameroon, said the NGOs in a new report that was obtained by Reuters. In the same report, the organization stresses that the fighting between various armed groups demanding the independence of the part of the country inhabited by the English-speaking minority and the army continued unceasingly, with civilians bearing the brunt of death, abductions, and widespread destruction of homes and villages.
In our next story, UNICEF deplores vandalism of Libya's water system. UNICEF deplores a vandalizing water system which cut off the children and their families from water, increasing the likelihood of waterborne diseases spreading in the affected areas, UNICEF said in a statement. According to UNICEF, several acts of vandalism affected the water supply to a number of Libyan cities over the past few days. UNICEF said the assailants' repeated attacks on the man-made river main system threatens the water security of the entire country and puts millions of lives at immediate risk of losing access to safe water. The man-made river, the largest water supply in Libya, provides 60% of all fresh water used in the country.
In our next story, intense rainfall adds to increase in lakes levels in East Africa. Lake Tanganyika is Africa's deepest lake and is getting deeper, swallowing entire neighborhoods along its shores at Burundian capital Bujumbura. According to experts, climate change and deforestation in the highlands and water catchment areas are causing topsoil erosion and an increase in silt in the lakes. Experts say if both trends are not reversed, the lake will continue to rise, creating climate refugees in the process. Thompson Irakoze navigates his boat through the flooded streets of his neighborhood in Burundian capital Bujumbura, now submerged by the rising water levels. Hundreds of families are under threat as water levels along the shores of East Africa's Great Lakes continuously increase. Surging waters have caused the displacement of people living near the lakes.
ICC drops all charges against Simone Gbagbo. Since 2012, Simone Gbagbo has faced 4 counts of crimes against humanity, allegedly committing during the post-election crisis of 2010 to 2011, following the refusal of her then-husband, Laurent Gbagbo, to hand over power to Alassane Ouattara. Simone Gbagbo was not handed over to the ICC, but to an Ivorian court which sentenced her to 20 years in prison in 2015 for compromising state security, and was then released on the 8th of August 2018 after presidential amnesty. Laurent Gbagbo filed for divorce after returning to Ivory Coast, citing 72-year-old Simone's consistent refusal over the past years to agree to an amicable separation.
Now, amidst rising COVID-19 cases and a cholera outbreak, Nigerian doctors are set for a nationwide strike. Amidst the imminent third wave of the coronavirus pandemic and the recent outbreak of cholera in more than 13 states of the Federation, Nigerian doctors have announced the commencement of a nationwide industrial action from Monday, 2nd August. The doctors, members of the National Association of Resident Doctors, blamed the Nigerian government for the strike. They accused accused the government of failing to implement the Memorandum of Action earlier endorsed by the two parties, which necessitated the suspension of the NARD's earlier strike action in April 2021. The association also decried the undue hardship its members on GIF-MIS platform are facing due to the delays in payment of their salaries, ranging from 3 to 7 months.
In our next story, French released after apology to Malabo. The 6 French soldiers detained at an airport in Equatorial Guinea since Thursday, accused of espionage by local authorities, were yesterday allowed to leave after Paris apologized for the incident. A spokesperson for the French military personnel confirmed that the soldiers were allowed to leave Equatorial Guinea, which they have already done, and put an end to the incident that began after a French military helicopter landed to refuel at its territory capital Bata airfield. Thus ended the incident that occurred a day after the French judiciary upheld the conviction of money laundering of the Vice President of Equatorial Guinea, Théodore Obiang, son of President Theodore Obiang.
Our next story comes from Botswana. Emergency Powers Act, not a blank check, according to the KBL. Kalahadi Breweries Limited boss has fired back at the president, accusing him of using Emergency Powers Act as a blank check to act willy-nilly at the expense of the country. The brewer's country director, Bruno Diaz, said President Mokgweetsi Masisi should not hide behind the EPA to do as he pleases, because just like everyone else, the president is constrained to act legally and in the interest of the people. The president contends that the law does not require him to provide reasons for his decision to promulgate the regulations under the EPA. This stance is misconceived, and indeed taken to its conclusion, it would mean the court can never exercise its duty to scrutinize the lawfulness of the executive action. I am advised that EPA does not give the president a blank check to do as he pleases. He is, like everyone, constrained to act legally, Diaz said.
Mozambique's President Nyusi pledges to protect wildlife. On Saturday, Mozambique's President Filipe Nyusi backed the independent Stopped the Illegal Wildlife Trade campaign by joining the Giants Club, providing the nation's lasting commitment to conserving Africa's most important natural ecosystem and protecting endangered species. President Nyusi joined the Giant Club in a signing ceremony in Nia Special Reserves held at the port of Mozambique celebration of World Ranger Day on the 31st of July. The Giant Club is an international forum of political leaders, business people, philanthropists, conservationists, and scientists, all dedicated to supporting president to achieve their domestic conservation agendas. The Giant Club is an initiative of the International Conservation Organization Space for Giants, which the partner organization implements a program that the Giant Club's head of state choose as their conservation priorities.
All right, the last of our top stories comes from Zimbabwe, as Zimbabwe reintroduces black rhinos to its second largest park, part of the Great Limpopo Transfrontier Park. Zimbabwe is reintroducing black rhinos to its second largest game reserve, Gonarezhou National Park, and the first time the wildlife sanctuary will be home to the critically endangered species in nearly 30 years. The initiative is part of measures to restore and promote biodiversity through the reintroduction of locally extinct species by the Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife Management Authority in collaboration with the Frankfurt Zoological Society. Gonarezhou, located in the south of the country, is part of the Great Limpopo Transfrontier Park that links South Africa's Kruger National Park and Mozambique's Limpopo National Park. The latest introduction of black rhinos will be the third time that the animals will be introduced into the game reserve after the loss of the original black rhino population was poached into extinction in the 1930s and 1940s. All right, those have been our stories for now. If you've been living in this time and paying attention to what's going on, you know the most important things right now are health and economy. We have sort of an idea of what we need to do health-wise, but the economy keeps changing, and that's why Africa Good Morning has Robert McGregor, an economist, who's going to be talking about what's really going on with regards to that. So stick around. We'll be back after the break.
I decided to be vaccinated to protect myself and my family and my community.
My name is Amika Larue. I got my second vaccination now today, and I just think it's important to not only protect yourself but those around you, especially the elderly and my family. I just want to protect my family and to keep on working and not having to stop.
Ek het inspuiting gevat vir my veiligheid. Want ek het besluit ek kan nie staan op mense se sê nie, ek moet my veiligheid van my kant afbring.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. It's not only in African countries, but many other countries continue to face strong economic and financial headwinds. Last week, Sirius Securities downgraded Namibia's growth prospect, comparing it with expectations for other countries in the sub-region. This morning, our guest in studio is Mr. Robert McGregor, who is an economist. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning and thanks for having me.
What is the outlook for growth in southern African countries?
So at the moment, growth in southern Africa is the lowest for the different regions in Africa, and this is very much down to two aspects. Firstly, it is down to the response measures that have been introduced for many countries last year, and then again within the sub-region this year with the coronavirus, but it is also down to the different exposures concerning minerals and agriculture. It's also very mixed within the sub-region, so South Africa's growth, for instance, has recently been revised upwards, but for countries like Namibia, we're actually seeing growth being revised downwards, not just by ourselves, but by other entities as well.
All right. Are there other different factors driving industry construction and development in different countries?
Yes, so the contractions in growth are very much down to the exposures of the different countries we see. So for instance, a large reason behind Namibia's growth downgrade is the fact that we're seeing lower diamond output this year. In South Africa, we actually saw a better start to the year, a better output from manufacturing as well as from their mineral exposure, such as the platinum group metals, and that's been driving their growth.
All right. Is the picture the same in other Central and Northern African countries?
So again, it's very mixed down to the exposures. Countries that are oil-rich and oil-producing countries will likely have a much better this year, given the high demand for oil and better prices compared to what we saw last year, as well as a lot of the countries that have got good agriculture exposure because of the commodity price run that we've been seeing. But then for other countries, there are risks like their mineral exposure, where it isn't to these minerals that are doing quite so well, as well as down to domestic issues such as military or infighting and terrorism.
All right. What are, in your opinion, the main inputs required to achieve faster recovery in local and regional economies?
So the big thing that we see is that we need to get some more government out of the way for a lot of the countries. Countries that are showing good growth at the moment are those that are unleashing the power of the private sector to do what they need to do. And we feel very much the same, not just for Namibia, but other countries across the continent, making it easier to unlock the power of entrepreneurship, allowing people to start and run their own businesses more easily and providing support to do that, not necessarily financially, but by making it easier for them to do this.
All right. Thank you very much, Master Robert, for joining us. It has been a fantastic chat, and we look forward to seeing you again on the show.
Thanks.
All right, this is still Africa Good Morning, and we'll be right back after the break.
I know what I found is bound to be love. It's bound to be
We certainly hope you found that previous segment as informative as I did. Keeping with the theme of having you as informed as possible, we're going to take a trip to Zimbabwe and have a chat with Talent Gore so she can let us know exactly what is going on the ground in Zimbabwe. With Talent, we're going to be talking about, for example, funeral parlors being filled. Talent, are you there?
Good morning, Ashwin. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Talent. So I had briefly highlighted our first story. Zimbabwe funeral parlors warn of mass graves. This is truly saddening. Could you please get into this?
Zimbabwe funeral service providers have indicated that they are overwhelmed, and they say that if this trend continues, there might be a need for them to bury the deceased in mass graves. They say that the country could be forced to bury deceased citizens in mass graves if the upward trend of new infections and deaths continues. The funeral service providers, this process, are determined by the interest in death rates, painted a gloomy picture of the situation in morgues at the time the country was ravaged by increased death rates of citizens who are dying of COVID-19. They said that there are situations whereby the burial of the deceased is delayed by a day or two, and also there has been they are not given definite time as to when they should bury the deceased. And one of the funeral service chief executive officer said his firm's morgue were overwhelmed with dead bodies, resulting in it taking longer to bury the deceased.
Sorry, Talent. I'm just interrupting you. Sorry, Talent. It seems like your sound is a little muffled. Could you please just expose your microphone a little bit?
Okay. Sorry. So
You may continue.
as I was saying, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Nyala, the funeral service chief executive officer Philip Mataringa said that his firm's morgues were overwhelmed with dead bodies, resulting in it taking longer to bury the deceased. He said the company's preparatory measures against the pandemic, which included doubling mortuary capacity and recruitment of more staff, were eclipsed by the surge in deaths. He said that he also said that there has been a slower process in the burial of the deceased, and that this might end up resulting in mass graves. He said that we are not there yet, but if the death rate increases, there might be need for them to have to bury people, the deceased, in mass graves.
All right, now Talent Finance Minister Prof. Mthuli Ncube said Zimbabwe's COVID-19 budget dries up. Please tell us more.
Presenting the national budget review in Parliament on Thursday, Finance and Economic Development Minister Mthuli Ncube has said that Zimbabwe has dried up its $100 million cushion for COVID-19 time. He said that we have used up to 93.6 million US dollars, and we are only left with $6.8 million after importing 11.8 million doses of the vaccine and 7.2 million syringes. He, however, said that he was hopeful of using the country's special drawing rights to access additional funding from the International Monetary Fund. But members of parliament then tasked him that he was supposed to give an update as to what the government was going to do, as to how much the government was going to pay again for the procurement of vaccines, and that we cannot just wait for the International Monetary Fund to provide with the funds. He said that the members of parliament said that government was supposed to have a reserve on its own, not just to wait for funding from other organizations. So he said that they are going to apply for money from the International Monetary Fund. So yeah, that is what is going on in regards to the vaccines and the procurement of vaccines in Zimbabwe at the moment.
All right, Talent. Now, I remember a time when Zimbabwe was known as the breadbasket of Africa. Now, with this next story, it seems like it might be trying to return to its former glory as the agricultural sector has grown by 34% this year. Could you tell us about this, Talent?
The agricultural sector in Zimbabwe has boomed by 34% as projected. The country has projected that it was just going to boom by 11%, but it seems like they have projected that there is a 34% boom in the agricultural sector. This was presented also by the Minister of Finance in the House of Assembly presenting his national budget review. He said that the agricultural sector would grow by 34%, 3 times better than the initial projection of 11%. And as such, the sector has registered the biggest and most significant growth to anchor stellar economic growth this year. Agriculture contributes approximately 17% to Zimbabwe's economy, and this is the main source of livelihoods for the majority of the population in Zimbabwe. And also the performance of the sector is key determinant of rural livelihoods and poverty levels. Minister Ncube said he expected the economy to grow faster this year, driven by strong agricultural output, global commodity price boom, stable economic conditions, and the government's COVID-19 response measures. So he said that agriculture was contributing immensely to the economic boom of Zimbabwe.
Thank you very much, Talent, for bringing us the news stories from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
It's always good to have you here. Now, we were just talking to Talent about the news in Zimbabwe. After the break, we're going to be talking about a Zimbabwean student at the University of Namibia, finding out what she's been up to. But before that, let's first check out our weather forecast.
As Ashwan promised earlier, here is Panashe Mapa's story, who is a Zimbabwean national studying at the University of Namibia. When COVID-19 hit and face-to-face learning and teaching were suspended, Mapa decided to go into baking in her free time. And here is her story.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Panashe Mapa from Zimbabwe, currently studying public management at the University of Namibia. I'm in my third year and I'll be completing my studies next year. So why Namibia? People ask me when I started applying. Well, I owe it up to my two beautiful friends who came to Zimbabwe in 2017 for a church conference that was being held in Bulawayo, which I was also attending. So during our stay, we started interacting and talking about our future plans, and I was talking to them about how I was planning to start my university life next year. So they gave me the idea of applying at the University of Namibia. I was like, why not? That's the first time for everything, since it was going to be my first time to leave Zimbabwe and be far away from family. So when we got home, I discussed about it with my mom. She gave me the green light to start with the application process. I started applying and it was easy since they were giving me all the necessary steps and all the help that I needed. So I got accepted. I made my way in 2018. Upon arrival, I fell in love with Namibia. It was like love at first sight. What was there not to love? So I started my school. It was so beautiful. I didn't struggle with making any friends. I made a lot of friends, Namibians, Angolans, Congolese, and cultural festivals at the university. And it was at the time when I really used to feel the different cultures in Namibia. I used to love it and try to take part, trying to make yourself feel at home. Yeah, but then COVID came and distracted a lot of things. But anyway, in every bad things comes out a good thing. So I started baking, which was something that my mom had taught me during the days when I was in Zim. And I told myself, why not? As something that was able to keep me busy and not to stress too much about missing home. Baking, usually, mostly for myself, and my friends would come visit. It was a good time being around them, and I really learned a lot. And from then, I've really loved baking. I wish I could do it on a larger scale, but well, with school, it's one thing at a time. I wish to do more, and I'm really going to miss Namibia when I leave next year. But at least I've learned a lot of things from the country, and I really hope that someday I'll also get some people from Namibia who'll be traveling to Sam, and I hope they will really have a good experience as I am experiencing right now. Thank you.
Stopping in 330 and a truck. How dainty. Right in the vibe.
Welcome back to Africa. Good morning. It's time for us to get into your economic news stories for the day. And we start off in Botswana as audit firms slapped with heavy fines for misconduct. A major firm and 4 auditors were fined a total of 270,000 pula for breaching financial reporting standards and audit laws last year, the Botswana Accountancy Oversight Authority has revealed. The BAOA is the oversight body of the accounting and auditing profession in Botswana, regulating the activities of auditors and regulating the financial reporting of public interest entities and the corporate sector. BAOA directors said the fines handed down last year were the first ever for the 11-year-old audit and accountancy watchdog. This will serve as a deterrent to others that the regulator is serious about compliance, as ultimately we strive to improve financial reporting, auditing and governance, BAOA Chair Lynette Armstrong said in the organization's recently released annual report.
In our next story, Eswatini lowest growth forecast in CMA. In its latest World Economic Outlook, IMF has maintained a very low growth forecast for Eswatini this year. In the past week, the IMF released its latest outlook for July 2021, maintaining the same 1.4% growth forecast for Eswatini. Comparatively, these figures are the lowest in the Common Monetary Area. The CMA links South Africa, Namibia, Lesotho, and Eswatini into a monetary union. The main purpose for this trade is that all the 3 parties can have the same development and equitable economic advance so that they can be treated as a whole. For Namibia, the 2021 projected real gross domestic product is 2.6%. Lesotho's growth forecast figures 3.5%. And for South Africa, which is Southern Africa's heavyweight, the IMF upwardly revised the growth outlook for this year to a 3.1% to 4%.
Next up, Mozambique. Maputo port handled over 18 million tons of cargo in 2020. The port of Maputo handled over 18 million tons of cargo in 2020, Mozambican Transport Minister Janfar Abdullahi said on Thursday. This was a decline of around 14% when compared with the 21 million tons handled in 2019. Nonetheless, Abdullahi thought the port had performed well, considering the challenges and restrictions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Abdullahi reaffirmed the government's commitment to creating the necessary conditions for the evolution of transport to answer the domestic and regional needs. As a member state and holding the rotating presidency of the Southern African Development Community, Mozambique, he added, has been leading efforts to improve regional connectivity, mobilizing large investments to expand and modernize transport infrastructure's development.
In our next story, De Beers diamond sales left local outlook still pressed. Diamond mining conglomerate De Beers sold diamonds worth 7.5 billion between June and July this year. Owing these good production levels and opened up to China, to markets in China and the United States. However, Namibia's contribution to produce diamonds and the quantity of those sold have taken a dip. The company announced its 6th cycle result yesterday, which is an increase compared to the 1.7 billion in sales made during the same time in 2020. Commenting on these sales, the mining mayor chief executive Bruce Cleaver said the recent sales cycle has seen the continuation of good demand for rough diamonds, driven by a strong demand for diamond jewelry in the key U.S. and China consumer markets. The recent sale figures of 7.5 billion brings the total sale of the year to 44.9 billion.
Those were our economic news stories for today. Next up, economic indicators. welcome to Tuesday's Olympic slot. In our first story, Botswana's hopes of gold revived as Amos is reinstated. Botswana's Nigel Amos will run in the Olympic 800-meter final after all, despite a dramatic fall in Sunday's semi-final, which saw the 27-year-old tumbling to the track and limping home in last place in 2 minutes and 38.49 seconds. Amos has been reinstated in the race and handed a place in Wednesday's final, which will now feature 9 athletes instead of 8. The Botswana star, who boasts the fastest time this year over 2 laps of 1 minute 42.91 seconds, and American Isaiah Jewett, got tangled up mid-race but provided one of the indelible images of the games when they helped each other up from the track and crossed the finish line together. After being reinstated, Amos posted his response on Twitter saying, "I wrote this message on the wall at the dressing room after thinking my time here at the Olympics was over. God had other plans, and he indeed prepared a seat for me at the final dinner." In our next story, Hassan wins women's Olympic 5,000-meter gold. Dutch runner Sifan Hassan took a first giant step to her unprecedented Olympic treble bid when she blasted to gold in the 5,000 meters yesterday. Ethiopian-born Hassan, 28, produced a devastating final lap sprint to time 14 minutes and 36.79 seconds. Kenya's 2-time world champion Helen Obiri claimed silver, with Ethiopia's Gudaf Tsegay taking bronze. Hassan aims to win the 1,500 meters and the 10,000 meters as well. Next up, we are looking at the men's steeplechase results. Sofiane Al-Bakali became the first non-Kenyan to win the Olympic gold event since Poland's Bronislaw Malinowski won the title in Moscow in 1980. The 3,000-meter steeplechase has been Kenya's domain since 1968, where they have won the gold medal in every Olympics but Montreal in 1976 and Moscow in 1980, which they boycotted. Al-Bakali came into the games as one of the favorites for a historic run in the absence of Kenya's defending champion, Conteslas Kipruto. And in the last of our Olympic news stories, Thompson Hera eyes Olympic double-double in 200 meters. Elaine Thompson Hera sets out to follow up her Olympic 100-meter gold medal in the 200-meter on Monday, with the athletics world wondering how much faster she can run. The 29-year-old Jamaican sprint queen stormed to victory in the 100 meters on Saturday, eclipsing Florence Griffith Joyner's 33-year-old Olympic record by 0.01 seconds with a time of 10.61 seconds. The win left Thompson Hera firmly on course to repeat her 2016 Rio Olympics 100-meter, 200-meter sprint double for what would be an unprecedented women's double-double. The victory also left hanging the question of how much Thompson Hera has left in the tank and whether more records might be within reach.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. Now for our final segment, we are going to cross over to Ari Khogad, who is going to deliver the sports news to us. Good morning, Ari. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm doing great. It's a nice sporting morning. Nice to see all the Olympic news, and I'll be definitely supporting the Namibian athletes at 10 to 3 this afternoon. I think South Africa, the Southern Africa, will be supporting them as well.
Yes, our fingers are definitely crossed for them. Please take everything that you have away.
Yes, other sports happening across the globe at the moment. Soccer news is that the English Premier League is about to start again. We can't believe it was all that hectic, hectic soccer and English Premier League and the Euro Championships, and all of a sudden it's going to start again. Transfer news is the big news at the moment in England, with teams trying to find the right players and trying to find deals of the right players. One so is Harry Kane. He's one of the celebrated strikers in the English Premier League for the last few years, the top striker, and he plays for Tottenham Hotspur, and he's got a contract till 2024, a 6-year contract that is signed in 2018. But there's been speculation for quite a while that he wants to move on to Manchester City, and he claims that he's got a gentleman's agreement with the Tottenham chairman, Daniel Levy, and we'll have to see if that gentleman's agreement stands. But the big news was that he didn't show up for his first practice yesterday at Tottenham Hotspur. So that's the indication that he's maybe moved on. But there's lots of things behind the scene that needs to fall in place for him to be able to move to Manchester City. And maybe just other news from transfers is that the 21-year-old Jadon Sancho, he's the England winger that did so well in Euro as well. He's hot property, 21 years old, and he confirmed his move from Borussia Dortmund, the German club, to Manchester United, and that is for a fee of 73 million euro, and that is Jadon Sancho with the coach of the Manchester United team. And a great season, a new season waiting for him. Solskjaer, the coach of Manchester United, very happy to have a player of the quality of Jadon Sancho. And also some cricket news. Today there's 2 T20 games happening. It's Australia that starts the tour in Bangladesh, and they will start off today with the first T20 game. That will be in Mirpur. That is the first game. And then also the West Indies and Pakistan, they continue their T20 series. It's the 4th game. Only one result so far. 2 has been rained out. So it is the West Indies and Pakistan that's going to play the 4th T20 game. That's going to be in Guyana. Hopefully the weather will last. And then also England cricket captain Joe Root, he said that he's supporting Ben Stokes 100% in his decision to take an indefinite break from cricket, all forms of cricket, related to mental health, and said he must get well soon. So obviously there's lots of cricket to be played still in the year, and England need Ben Stokes definitely, especially in the T20 World Cup. And now to close, some rugby news. A big third test coming up on Saturday in South Africa. It's the British and Irish Lions and the Springboks playing in a decider. Just news there, breaking news from yesterday was that World Rugby announced that they will have a misconduct hearing for Rassie Erasmus. That is news breaking yesterday, late yesterday. That's because of video analysis he put on social media, criticizing referees and referee decisions. And that misconduct hearing will happen soon, I suppose. And then also Peter Steph, the tour there with the World Cup winning trophy in 2019. He's still in doubt for Saturday's game. Today there will be an announcement if he's available to play on Saturday. And also Faf de Klerk seems to be also on the injury list. And there's another scrum half, Jaden Hendricks, that's been brought into the squad, possibly to cover for Faf de Klerk. And Dan de Preer been brought into the squad to cover for Peter Steph the tour. But also Dwayne Vermeulen coming back for an injury, also included in the squad. So we'll see what the Rassie Erasmus World Rugby saga will give us. I personally feel that if they do that to Rassie Erasmus, they should also investigate the Lions management for criticizing the TMO as being incompetent, claims of being incompetent before the first test. So I think there was lots of banter, lots of things in social media, but I think it goes both ways in this case. Anyway, let's follow how it happens, and we'll talk some sport again on tomorrow. We'll continue, and all the best for the Namibian sprinters. We shout for them all the way here from Cape Town. All the best. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Ari. You know, Christine Boma and Beatrice Masilinge are truly holding the Namibian nation's spirit in their palms, or more particularly their legs, because they're going to be running for glory today at 2:50 p.m. Make sure you check that out. But before that, stick around. We'll take a short break. We'll be back with your headlines. Africa Good Morning has been streaming live from 7 a.m., bringing you the news and current affairs happening in the SADC region and beyond. Now, if you perhaps missed our top stories at the top of the hour, worry not. Here are your headlines. Militant groups recruiting child fighters in Burkina Faso. Mozambique, 15 terrorists killed on border with Tanzania. Rwandan Health Minister dismisses reports of closing border with DRC. AI condemns violence in Anglophone regions. Audit firms slapped with heavy fines for misconduct. Botswana's Nigel Amos will run in the Olympic 800-meter final after all. In football, Tottenham Hotspur striker Harry Kane missed practice at his club yesterday as speculation rises that he is to leave the club for Manchester City. Those have been our stories, and remember, log on to oneup2.com to join NMH's live channel. Yes, I love it. Live is the only way to go.
Definitely. We do welcome your remarks regarding our show. You can email them to us. Our email is agm_2centsworth@nmh.com.na. Alternatively, we are on Facebook and Twitter. It's at Africa Good Morning. Please remember to sanitize, wear your mask, get vaccinated, and always know that we can all beat COVID-19 together. It's important that you play your part.
Yes, indeed. And until tomorrow, as we keep our fingers crossed for our golden girls, Swera Jakanaka.